Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will admit to being in two minds about speaking in this important debate today. As a biological male, I can't, of course, get pregnant. And what do I know, really? What do I know? Can I feel it? Do I have a right to be here? And do my own experiences carry any legitimacy against the amazing stories that we've heard today? Well, of course, the answer is yes, but there's a conflict. This is difficult territory for all of us, but not least to men. And we do need to destigmatise this particular conundrum. And the fact that something is difficult does not mean to say that we shouldn't be doing it or talking about it. So I really hope that I hold it together for the next 5 or so minutes. For me, baby loss is about many things. It's about bereavement for any child, big or small. It's about the devastation that's left behind. It's about hopes that have dashed, misery. It's about love. It's about the agony of miscarriage, however that child is conceived. It's about those trying for children, those who desperately want children. And it's about those going through IVF or IUI, the physical and emotional nightmare that that brings, where you mortgage your house, you mortgage your hopes, you take out loans, you bankrupt yourself against the mirage of science. It's great when it works, but the agony of infertility is very real for so many people. And it's also, this debate is also about those who might never have children, or those who don't have children. Back in April 2018, my young niece succumbed to a very serious illness. It wasn't long before her second birthday, and she would have been 5 today. I've not spoken of this publicly, and I don't really want to do so now, but I can tell you that bereavement of a child is devastating, and I wasn't the parent. Grief works in so many ways, it's so difficult. And aside from the inherent loss of a beautiful and innocent child, it's also about what's left behind. It's about birthdays, it's about Christmases, it's about the friends and the boyfriends that may never materialise, it's about grandchildren and children, and it's also about the parents that grieve and it lasts forever. Politically, this is actually very easy to deal with because we need to throw the kitchen sink at it. And I know the Minister is in her place right now. Money is no object when it comes to this kind of thing. My niece died, actually, just across the river in the fantastic Evelina Hospital. It is a brilliant facility, and I want to commend the staff that work there. I mean, what an amazing machine. When you walk in there, it's so state-of-the-art. It looks like a spaceship. It really does, and the people are just brilliant. So thank you to them and to all the staff across the country doing this very difficult job. But we've got to invest in more of these facilities. We've got to give the best possible care for all of our children. It's only money at the end of the day. And there can be no greater prize than bringing a child into the world or saving a life or prolonging life. So let's give all of our children the best possible chance. And we need to talk about it as we are now, however difficult this must be. But of course, baby loss is also about losing a baby through miscarriage. These are not just embryos. They're people, they're lives. They're the embodiment of hopes and dreams for so many people. They're actually little versions of ourselves. Yes, nature can have a way of taking its own decisions. And that's fine. But miscarriage is devastating for all parents, for grandparents, for family, and so many people that have got direct involvement of this. And I can only imagine the horror, and my heart goes out to women in particular, who have to give birth to a baby that once had that heartbeat. I cannot imagine how difficult that must be. And we need to empathise, we need to sympathise and just be there, to love and to feel for them. And for women who cannot get pregnant and who don't get pregnant, it's about the pain, the loss, the endless cycles of hope each month, and the devastation as her period starts all over again. This is tricky, tricky stuff. It's also about the sister who churns out children like rounds from a machine gun with complete impunity, with no effort at all. And perhaps even worse, it's about the sanctimonious friend or sister-in-law who can do the same. It's about the doubt, the worry. It's about compounded misery month on month. And again, our hearts need to go out to these people that are so badly affected. The hours crouched over toilets, bereft of yet again coming on in toilet cubicles with negative pregnancy tests. The list goes on, and it's real and it's happening today in this country to so many of us. And it's also about the agony of putting on a brave face afterwards. It's about going back into the world as if nothing's happened, going back into the office. It's tough stuff. And then the tests and the invasion and the prodding and the poking and the examinations for those who want to find out why they can't conceive. Being on a slab, feeling like a total failure. And what about men? Well, here we go. I was that man in the day doing unnatural things in cubicles in clinics across London. I was that man carrying precious cargo on the tube in odd-shaped containers. I could have dealt with, and did deal with, the alcohol bans for 3 months at a time. That was difficult. But the loss of caffeine was really tough. On, please.
I just want to commend my honourable friend for his courage to tell his story. Similarly, I've been through that experience of IVF, and would he agree with me that one of the worst things about going through that battle of fertility is people very innocently just asking, when are you and your partner going to start a family? When are you going to have children? You don't want to leave it too late. I think a risk of all this is a lack of awareness that infertility is a very common thing.
Sunderland.
Peterborough for the intervention. I think you're absolutely right. You often don't want to say anything, but you feel as though you should. And again, why haven't you got children? You know, why are others having children, you're not? Grandparents, the expectation they have. It's a difficult business. I want to talk also about one occasion. I was eating a piece of white toast in the kitchen, and this mad, deranged woman grabbed it from me and said, "Don't." On another occasion, I was on exercise with my regiment, the whole unit on parade. I was there with the brigadier on a big visit, and my phone rang. It was my wife, and she said, "Come home, honey, I'm ovulating." I can tell you that those words will put the fear of God into any man. But the worst thing of all is Brazil nuts. Chopped up with your breakfast. Absolutely horrible things. And to this day, I've got PTSD from that. Please.
I'd like to commend him for his absolute, utter honesty, having gone through these kinds of experiences in the desperation of wanting to have your own children, and then the absolute terror when you're going through pregnancies. As a woman and as a partner, being afraid of whether you're going to be able to hear a heartbeat, feel that movement, know that everything's all right. Would he agree with me that the way he's talking now, the best way that we can do, and I commend my honourable friend for bringing this to the House, is actually the best way is for us all to talk about it, and talk about it very openly, because that's the way we all get through it together.
Yeah.
Sunderland.
Thanks to my good friend from Grimsby. I mean, I couldn't agree more. There's not much to really add to that, but you're absolutely right. And from personal experience, you know, seeing the heartbeat on the screen, it's worth all the effort. And I would commend everyone just to keep going, because dreams do come true. Just very briefly, time's marching on, but those couples going through IVF, please have respect for what they're doing. You know, mortgaging themselves, it's about the money, it's about the anxiety, endless cycles in many cases. It's also about the heavy drugs, the mood swings, the overestimation of the ovaries. It's also about the injections in the stomach. It's pretty grim. So feel, please support and be there for your friends and family who are going through it. And the devastation when it goes wrong, and it does go wrong. And spare a thought also for the heartache and for the hopes and the preparations and the fears and the tests that rests on ultimately a drop of urine. It is absolutely brutal. So having debated the horrible reality of baby loss today, what can we do? Well, I'm going to rattle through this very quickly. We need to support our loved ones, as I've said. As men or partners, we need to hug, to hold, reassure and to listen.
Much for a very courageous speech by all, from what I can hear. But the point that you're raising, and also my honourable friend for Peterborough is actually raising, that this doesn't just affect women. It doesn't. We're not just the ones that go through the grief and the bereavement and the pain. Men do as well. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to talk more about that both men and women, when we suffer bereavement and baby loss, it's both of us that are actually affected, the man and the woman.
Yeah. James, something.
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, my honourable friend, once again, I mean, this is about two people. It takes two to tango. People do go through this collectively as a couple, but also individually. So I think we should recognise the fact that this is difficult for both parties, whoever they might be. And just very briefly, we need to invest in hospitals an awful lot more, as I said earlier. Better baby units, better midwives, consultants who read their notes. We need to make sure that we do take some risk politically with this particular issue. Spend more money. As I said, it's only actually money. Employers, please get a grip. If you have a woman in your employ going through IVF, please just empathise and sympathise. Give her some space. But Mr. Speaker, before I finish, and I'm going to finish now, I want to stick my neck out with a couple of very personal issues, and please forgive me. For those who want to have children, go for it, it's my advice. Stay strong and keep going. My humble advice is not to leave it too late. You can't turn the clock back, and careers are ultimately not that important. And for those considering IVF, just go for it. It does work, it's successful, and it's getting better all of the time. And for those who might need extra support, I'm going to commend the organisation called Foresight, otherwise known as the Association for Preconceptual Care. It is absolutely fantastic. And finally, for those for whom this does not work, for those who suffer the loss of never conceiving, we can never do enough for you. And in this place, as politicians, we will keep focusing on this very important issue. Please keep lobbying us too. These are life and death issues that are ultimately more important than anything else. And lastly, Madam Deputy Speaker, and most importantly of all, please do spare a thought for those poor men eating Brazil nuts for breakfast.
Angela Richardson.
Madam Deputy Speaker,